Picture yourself walking into a crowded room. Laughter echoes, conversations overlap, hands clasp in warm greetings. Yet, in the corner, there you are, distant, observing, not quite belonging. It's not that you hate people. It's that you cannot melt into them. You feel the invisible glass wall. And in that moment of separation, a thought creeps in. What if solitude isn't a curse, but a weapon? What if the very thing that isolates you is the thing that can free you? Most people are terrified of silence. They need noise, validation, applause, constant reassurance. They live in the endless chatter of connection, mistaking company for meaning. But those who cannot escape themselves, those who find in their own company a kind of brutal companionship, know something different. They know that aloneness is not emptiness. It is pressure. It is fire. And like a diamond forged in darkness, it transforms the one who can endure it. Machiavelli, often remembered as the cold-blooded strategist of power, understood this paradox. Strength is born not in the crowd but in isolation. While the court schemed, he was cast out, disgraced, exiled to his farm outside Florence. He wrote, "I go to my study and enter the ancient courts of ancient men, where, being lovingly received by them, I feed on that food which only is mine and which I was born for." Exile became his womb of genius. It was in solitude that the prince was born, a book that would terrify kings and inspire generations of power seekers. But let's ask the question few dare. Why do some find solitude unbearable, while others, loners, make it their fortress? Perhaps it's because solitude is not neutral. It is dangerous. It mirrors back every insecurity, every doubt, every unspeakable truth we hide under the comfort of company. In solitude, there is no escape from yourself, and most people cannot face themselves. Carl Jung once wrote, "Loneliness does not come from having no people about one, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to oneself." The true loner does not avoid others out of disdain, but because the depth of his thoughts makes ordinary conversation feel like starvation. He longs for the kind of communion that cannot be found in the marketplace, in trivial laughter, in small talk. And so, the loner walks the knife's edge, hated by the crowd, misunderstood by family, feared even by friends. But here lies the paradox. The loner may suffer more deeply, yet he sees further. While others are distracted by the noise of the present, he listens to the whispers of eternity. He becomes attuned to patterns no one else notices. He can detach, withdraw, and reemerge with visions, strategies, and insights that only silence could have offered. But do not mistake this path for romance. There is no easy comfort in it. There is no applause for the nights you sit staring at a blank page, no validation for the battles fought within your own skull. Society will label you cold, arrogant, perhaps even broken. Yet beneath these accusations lies their fear, that you might not need them, that your strength is self-sourced, and independence terrifies the dependent. This is the loner's hidden power: to walk away, to resist the pull of conformity, to stand in the unlit corners of the world and find meaning where no one else dares to look. But power, once uncovered, demands something in return. It is not free, and the price of walking this path is steep. So the question becomes, are you willing to pay it? Because if you are, you must understand something even darker, something Machiavelli himself knew, something that every loner eventually discovers. That solitude does not only free you, it also marks you, sets you apart forever, and in that distance, a new way of seeing is born. And that, precisely, is where our journey must begin. Once you step into solitude, you do not return unchanged. There is a slow alchemy at work, something that reshapes the mind with each hour of silence. The absence of distraction creates a presence of intensity. You begin to notice details others miss, the subtle rhythms of your own thoughts, the texture of your moods, the architecture of your desires. What once seemed like background noise becomes a symphony you can no longer ignore. Most people live their lives as if they are constantly running from themselves. They need movement, entertainment, endless scrolling, the validation of likes, the chatter of gossip. They do not want to know what lies in the stillness. But the loner, whether by choice or by exile, faces it head-on. And in that furnace of silence, something begins to harden within him. Arthur Schopenhauer described this dynamic with brutal clarity. A man can be himself only so long as he is alone. If he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom. For it is only when he is alone that he is really free. Freedom is costly. It means the collapse of illusion. It means living without the narcotic of constant companionship. And that is precisely why solitude, though painful, can forge a sharper, more dangerous kind of strength. Machiavelli's writings were not the product of a man surrounded by flattering courtiers or endless celebrations. They were written in disgrace, in isolation, in the shadow of political ruin. And yet, from this ruin came one of the most influential books in history. His exile became a forge. Solitude does not pamper, it disciplines. It breaks the weak and tempers the strong. Here lies the paradox. What society calls loneliness may, in fact, be the precondition for power. Think of the monk in his cell, stripping away distractions to confront God. Think of the philosopher retreating from the crowd to wrestle with questions that would terrify most. Think of the artist facing the blank canvas alone, bleeding visions no one else has yet seen. In all these cases, solitude is not an accident. It is the crucible. But this power does not come cheaply. With each passing day of isolation, the loner pays a tax. He feels the ache of disconnection, the phantom pain of not belonging. He sees how others laugh and bond, and he wonders whether he has chosen, or been cursed, to stand apart. This is where doubt creeps in, whispering that perhaps solitude is only exile, only punishment, only emptiness. And yet, in this tension lies the very transformation. To remain in solitude is to learn to carry the weight of your own mind without collapse. To not run from it. To sit with the silence until it stops being an enemy and becomes an instrument. Most will break under this weight. But those who do not emerge with an independence that is unshakable, a freedom no one can steal, a power that does not beg for permission. Nietzsche saw this clearly when he declared, "The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. If you try it, you will be lonely often and sometimes frightened. But no price is too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself." The loner is frightening precisely because he does not need what others are addicted to. He is not enslaved by applause, by the warmth of the group, by the narcotic of constant recognition. He begins to see that the crowd is not a source of truth but a mask. And masks are fragile. But beware, this clarity has a consequence. The more you step outside the noise, the more the noise turns against you. The loner becomes a mirror to society's hidden weakness. Their dependency, their fear, their inability to stand alone. And because people fear what they cannot control, they will brand the loner as strange, dangerous, or even mad. The loner must decide to retreat fully into himself and risk isolation becoming a prison, or to harness solitude as an armory, stepping back into the world with a vision forged in silence. This is the razor's edge. And so the question deepens, not merely, can you endure solitude? But, can you weaponize it? Can you carry the strength it gives without breaking beneath its weight? That is the turning point, and it leads us directly into the next truth. Solitude not only forges independence, it also awakens the darker faculties of strategy, vision, and ruthless clarity. Solitude does more than shape resilience. It sharpens vision. Removed from the fog of constant social chatter, the loner begins to see what others cannot. He notices the undercurrents of power, the hypocrisy in noble speeches, the manipulations disguised as kindness. To those lost in the comfort of crowds, these truths remain invisible. But to the one who stands apart, clarity arrives with a frightening precision. Machiavelli himself was not simply a recluse scribbling in exile. He was a man who had lived among the powerful, witnessed their deceptions, tasted betrayal, and paid the price of political downfall. Yet, in that solitude, he gained the vantage point of distance. He no longer needed to please or flatter. He could write without illusion, dissecting human nature with a surgeon's cruelty. His great insight was not that men are evil or good, but that they are predictable, governed by appetites, fears, and appearances. and only the detached eye could see this truth. This is the secret gift of the loner. He is not consumed by the roles others are forced to play. Standing on the edge of society, he perceives the theater for what it is. He hears the false laughter at banquets. He sees the trembling insecurity behind arrogance. He recognizes the hunger behind every mask of virtue. And this recognition is not cynical, it is power. For to know the truth of human beings is to no longer be fooled by them. Aldous Huxley once observed, "The more powerful and original a mind, the more it will incline towards the religion of solitude." The powerful mind withdraws not to escape reality but to pierce through it. In the stillness of isolation, patterns emerge. The way envy drives betrayal, the way fear disguises itself as morality, the way ambition dresses in humility to deceive. And yet, this kind of perception carries a burden. To see too much is to be condemned to distance. Once you recognize that most people do not want truth but comfort, not freedom but security, you are left with the dilemma of the seer. Do you speak and risk their hatred? Or do you remain silent and carry the weight alone? Here is where Machiavellian solitude differs from romantic solitude. It is not merely about finding peace in silence, but about using silence as a training ground for strategy. The loner who sharpens his perception learns to read a room before he enters, to predict betrayals before they occur, to sense weakness where others see confidence. His distance is his weapon, his lack of need his advantage. But beware the temptation of bitterness. To see human weakness clearly can make the loner contemptuous, and contempt poisons vision. The task is not to hate humanity for its flaws but to understand it, to navigate it, to wield knowledge as leverage. This is the true Machiavellian eye, not the sneer of superiority but the precision of a strategist. Jean-Paul Sartre once remarked, "Hell is other people," but the loner who matures beyond bitterness knows that hell is not merely the presence of others. It is dependence on them, blindness to their motives, and entanglement in their illusions. The loner who sees through the mask can walk among others without being owned by them. He can engage without attachment, maneuver without entrapment. And so, the eye of the loner is not just perception, it is liberation. He is not fooled by the promises of crowds or the morality of rulers. He sees through the pageantry and into the machinery, and in that vision lies a kind of ruthless freedom. Yet vision alone is not enough. To wield what he sees, the loner must cultivate something even more dangerous. The ability to act with cold precision, to move like a shadow, to turn knowledge into power. And that brings us to the next descent. Solitude not only clarifies, it hardens the will. Seeing clearly is one thing. Acting upon what you see is another. Most people, even when handed truth, recoil from it. They know what must be done, but they lack the courage, the discipline, the endurance to follow through. Here is where solitude divides the dreamers from the dangerous. It does not merely sharpen vision, it hardens the will. In silence, every weakness rises like a ghost. Laziness whispers, "Rest, there is no need to push." Doubt taunts, "You are wasting your time, no one cares." Fear hisses, "Better to return to the safety of the herd." And yet, there is no herd around to silence these voices. Alone, the loner is forced to confront them. No applause to encourage, no scorn to shame, no audience to hold him accountable. Only the barren arena of his own mind. And in that arena, the will is forged. Discipline ceases to be a performance, it becomes survival. The loner learns to push when no one is watching, to endure when no one rewards him, to resist collapse when no hand reaches to pull him up. Every repetition of this struggle thickens the armor. Every lonely battle leaves scars that gleam like iron. Viktor Frankl, who endured the horrors of concentration camps, wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." Solitude enforces this lesson. It reminds the loner that he cannot always control the world, but he can control himself, his focus, his habits, his persistence. In this control lies freedom, and in freedom lies strength. Machiavelli's loner is not a passive hermit. He is a strategist preparing for war. The will he cultivates in silence is the will he later wields against chaos, betrayal, and adversity. He knows he cannot bend the world to his desires without first bending himself into steel. Solitude, then, is less a retreat than a training ground. The silence becomes a gymnasium of the soul. But this iron will comes with a cost. To others, it appears cold, even merciless. The loner who trains himself to act without external encouragement is often accused of arrogance or cruelty. People expect loyalty to the collective struggle. The loner owes allegiance only to his vision. And this terrifies them, for what cannot be broken cannot be controlled. Friedrich Nietzsche captured this spirit when he declared, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." The loner who finds his why in solitude acquires an unbreakable core. He can endure ridicule, exile, even hatred, because his strength is not borrowed. It is self-forged. And this makes him dangerous, not because he seeks to harm, but because nothing can enslave him. Yet the will is not simply about endurance. It is about action. It is the bridge between vision and reality. The loner learns that knowledge without the strength to act is paralysis. He understands that clarity without courage is useless. The world does not reward those who see. It rewards those who do. And solitude ensures that when he acts, it is not with hesitation, but with ruthless precision. Still, this path breeds an unsettling paradox. The stronger the loner becomes, the further he drifts from ordinary bonds. The iron will that frees him also isolates him. Few can understand the discipline required, fewer still can follow it. The loner finds himself admired from a distance, feared up close, and truly known by almost no one. This is the tax of strength. The rarer it is, the lonelier it becomes. And yet, within this loneliness lies the seed of transformation. For when will hardens into discipline, and discipline into power, the loner approaches something even greater, the possibility of destiny. Which leads us to the next step, how solitude not only shapes vision and will, but carves a path toward meaning itself, a meaning found not in others, but in the depths of the self. Every loner eventually encounters the abyss. After the sharpening of vision and the hardening of will, there comes a darker stage, the confrontation with meaning itself. For what use is endurance without a reason? What use is strength if it serves nothing beyond survival? This is where solitude stops being merely a discipline and becomes an existential trial. Silence, when prolonged, turns merciless. It strips away distractions until you are left face to face with your own emptiness. The loner asks, why persist? For what? While society offers easy answers, wealth, approval, romance, reputation, the loner who has withdrawn can no longer be satisfied with such illusions. He demands something deeper, something unshakable, something worth the cost of isolation. This confrontation is brutal. It is the night when the loner feels that nothing matters, the hour when despair whispers of futility. Many collapse here. They retreat into addictions, illusions, or the false security of the herd. But those who endure discover something extraordinary. Meaning is not given, it is created. Viktor Frankl, who wrestled with despair in the death camps, insisted, life is never made unbearable by circumstances, but only by lack of meaning and purpose. The loner in solitude discovers that meaning cannot be outsourced to others. It must be forged within. Whether through art, philosophy, mastery of a craft, or pursuit of truth, the loner's strength becomes inseparable from his personal why. Machiavelli's exile illustrates this. He could have withered in bitterness, drunk himself into oblivion, or surrendered to obscurity. Instead, he wrote, his purpose was clear, to dissect the mechanics of power, to offer a vision stripped of illusions, to gift the world with his hard-won clarity. His solitude was not wasted because he gave it direction. Without that, his suffering would have been pointless. With it, his suffering became fuel. This is the great danger and promise of solitude. It magnifies the void, but it also forces the loner to answer it. Unlike the crowd, he cannot hide behind borrowed purposes. He cannot rely on society to dictate his values. He must carve them into the stone of his own existence. And once he does, his life ceases to be reactive. It becomes deliberate. Arthur Schopenhauer understood this when he said, a man can do what he wills, but he cannot will what he wills. At first glance, it sounds like despair. Our deepest drives are beyond our control. But in solitude, the loner learns to refine those drives, to sculpt them, to give them shape. He discovers not just what he desires, but why he desires it. And this knowledge transforms willpower into destiny. But meaning does not come without pain. The loner who dares to define his own path must walk it without guarantees, without applause, often against the tide of society. He must carry the burden of freedom, that terrifying gift of knowing that no one else is responsible for the direction of his life. This is the abyss. Freedom without compass, responsibility without excuse. Yet this abyss is also the birthplace of greatness. From it emerge prophets, philosophers, and creators who dared to stand apart. From it arise strategies, ideas, and visions that alter history. From it, the loner learns that despair is not the end. It is initiation. It is the trial by which meaning is forged. And so, the loner stands on the edge of a paradox. Solitude threatens to annihilate him with meaninglessness, yet it also offers the only soil in which authentic meaning can grow. If he endures, he becomes untouchable, not because he is immune to suffering, but because he has given suffering a reason. This is the ultimate transformation. Solitude ceases to be exile. It becomes pilgrimage. But one final step remains. For meaning is not only personal, it must be tested against the world. And here lies the loner's last and greatest trial. To re-emerge, not as a seeker of company, but as one who shapes destiny itself. When solitude has stripped illusions, when will has hardened into iron, and when meaning has been carved from despair, the loner stands transformed. He is no longer the outcast staring through glass walls at the warmth of others. He is something else entirely, a figure of destiny. To the outside world, he may still appear strange, aloof, difficult to approach. But within, there is a new architecture of strength. He does not move with the frantic energy of the crowd. He moves with precision, as though each step has already been rehearsed in silence. He has no need to beg for approval, for he has already confronted his greatest judge, himself. And he has survived the verdict. Such a figure is dangerous, not because he seeks destruction, but because he cannot be owned. He enters alliances by choice, not necessity. He speaks with weight because his words are born from thought, not noise. His solitude has made him untouchable by the usual weapons of manipulation. Shame, fear of exclusion, the bribes of validation. He is already beyond them. Machiavelli's vision of the ruler captures the spirit. A leader who is not enslaved by morality as a mask, nor by popularity as a crutch, but who acts according to necessity, guided by clarity and strength. Whether prince or common man, the loner who has endured solitude becomes such a figure. Someone who shapes events rather than being swept along by them. Carl Jung once wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And this is the loner's final reward. He does not dissolve into the expectations of others. He does not wear the costume society offers. He becomes himself, sharpened, purified, dangerous in authenticity. Yet this destiny does not mean comfort. The loner will always walk at a distance. He will always be misunderstood, often envied, sometimes hated. His path is not toward applause but toward impact. He influences from the shadows, alters lives by example, plants ideas like seeds that outlive him. His power lies not in belonging, but in embodying something that cannot be ignored. Think of Nietzsche scribbling visions of the Übermensch while society mocked him. Think of Huxley warning of a future of engineered pleasure. Think of Frankl teaching meaning from the depths of suffering. Each was isolated, misunderstood, but each altered the trajectory of thought for generations. Their solitude became civilization's inheritance. This is the loner's paradoxical legacy. He sacrifices comfort to gain influence. He trades the warmth of belonging for the fire of vision. And though he may seem to walk alone, history itself walks beside him. But here lies the question that remains for you. Will you dare to step onto this path? Will you endure the silence that unmasks you, the solitude that scorches, the abyss that demands meaning? Will you choose to carry strength no one else will hand you, to live with a freedom that terrifies the crowd? Most will not. Most will retreat into noise, into comfort, into the narcotics of conformity. They will mock the loner, dismiss him, even fear him. But quietly, secretly, they will envy him. For deep inside, they know he has something they lack: ownership of himself. The loner does not need permission. He does not need saving. He does not need the herd to tell him who he is. He is forged in exile, tempered in silence, and marked by destiny. His solitude is not weakness, it is weapon. And so, the choice stands before you. Do you turn away, back into the warmth of noise? Or do you step into the dark forge of solitude, to be remade, to be tested, to claim the freedom that only loners know? The answer will define not just your life, but your destiny.